This story titled, My Mother-in-Law Demanded I Hand Over My Wedding Ring Because She Thought She Deserved It More. My name is Sarah, I'm 28 years old, and I live in a small but cozy home with my husband Jake. We've been married for just over a year now, and for the most part, our life has been wonderful. But there's one dark cloud that has always loomed over our relationship. His mother, Linda. Linda never liked me. From the moment Jake introduced us, I could feel her disapproval radiating off her like heat from a fire. She had this way of making me feel small, insignificant, like I was never good enough for her precious son. She'd nitpick everything from the way I cooked to the way I dressed. Even my career choices weren't up to her standards. She was one of those women who believed that a wife should be at home, catering to her husband's every need. I, on the other hand, had a job I loved, one I had worked incredibly hard for. But as frustrating as she was, I never expected her entitlement to reach the level it did. I never thought she would demand something so personal, so precious, as if she had every right to take it from me. It all started when Jake and I got engaged. My wedding ring wasn't just any ring. It was a family heirloom from my grandmother, a stunning vintage diamond ring with intricate gold detailing. It was more than just a piece of jewelry. It held memories, history, and love. My grandmother had worn it for decades, and before she passed, she gave it to me, saying she wanted me to have a piece of her with me always. It meant everything to me. Linda, however, thought it should belong to her. At first, it was just little comments. She'd glance at my ring with a strange look in her eyes and say things like, "That ring looks familiar. You know, something like that would look perfect on me." Or, "Vintage rings like that should be passed down to the matriarch of the family." I'd brush it off, thinking it was just Linda being Linda. But as time went on, her obsession with my ring became more obvious. She started talking about how she had never been given a proper engagement ring, how she had sacrificed so much for Jake, and how it was only fair that she get something back for all her years of hard work. Then came the wedding day. Linda showed up in a white dress. Yes, a white dress. Not just off-white or cream, full-on bridal white. The audacity of this woman knew no bounds. But that wasn't even the worst part. After the ceremony, while everyone was celebrating, she pulled me aside with that same fake sweet smile she always wore when she was about to say something outrageous. "Sarah, darling," she began, her voice dripping with condescension. "I think it's time we talk about that ring. It really should be mine, don't you think?" I blinked at her, trying to process what I had just heard. "Excuse me?" "That ring." She gestured toward my hand. "It's a beautiful heirloom, and I just feel like it belongs to me. You know, as Jake's mother, I should be the one wearing it. After all, I brought him into this world. Don't you think that deserves some recognition?" I was stunned. Was she serious? Did she really think she could just claim my ring like some kind of prize for giving birth to Jake? "Linda, this ring was my grandmother's. It was given to me. It has nothing to do with Jake." Her eyes narrowed slightly, and for the first time I saw something behind that sweet facade. Pure, unfiltered entitlement. "Oh, but it does, dear," she said, her tone sharper now. "That ring is a symbol of this family, and I have been the head of this family for years. It's only right that it stays with me until I decide to pass it down." I let out a dry laugh, shaking my head. "That's not how this works. This isn't some royal inheritance, Linda. This ring is mine." She huffed, clearly not used to being told no. "Well, I just think you're being very selfish. A good daughter-in-law would respect her mother-in-law's wishes." Before I could respond, Jake appeared, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" Linda immediately switched on the fake tears. "Oh, Jakey, I was just talking to Sarah about how unfair it is that she won't even consider sharing a part of this family's history with me." Jake looked between us, confused. "Mom, what are you talking about?" She pointed dramatically at my ring. "That ring. It should be mine. I deserve it." For a moment, I saw Jake's face darken with frustration. He knew his mother could be overbearing, but I don't think he ever expected this. "Mom, that ring was Sarah's grandmother's. It has nothing to do with our family." "But, no, Mom," Jake cut her off, his voice firm. "That ring is Sarah's. It's not up for debate." Linda let out a dramatic sigh, as if we were the unreasonable ones. She mumbled something under her breath about ungrateful children, and after everything I've done, before storming off to sulk for the rest of the night. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought maybe, just maybe, she would let it go. I was wrong. A few weeks after the wedding, Jake and I invited some close family over for dinner. Linda was, of course, one of the guests. Everything was going well until I noticed my jewelry box sitting open on our bedroom dresser. At first, I thought I had left it open by accident, but then I realized something was missing. My ring. Panic surged through me. I frantically searched through my jewelry, hoping maybe I'd misplaced it. But no, it was gone. I stormed out of the bedroom, my heart pounding. Linda was sitting at the dining table, sipping her wine like she hadn't just stolen from me. "Linda," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "did you take my ring?" She didn't even flinch. She just smiled and set down her glass. "Now, Sarah, I don't know why you're getting so worked up. It was just sitting there, and honestly, I think it looks much better on me." That's when I saw it. My ring. Sparkling on her finger. She had actually taken it. Out of my own home, out of my own jewelry box, something inside me snapped. I didn't care about being polite anymore. "Give it back, now." She sighed dramatically, acting as if I was being unreasonable. "Oh, Sarah, don't be so possessive. It's just a ring." Just a ring? Just a ring? I didn't even get a chance to respond before Jake noticed what was happening. His face went pale when he saw his mother's hand. "Mom, please tell me you didn't just steal Sarah's ring." "Oh, Jakey, don't be ridiculous." She laughed nervously. "I was just borrowing it." "Give back." Jake's voice was cold, and for the first time, I saw something shift in Linda's expression. She realized she had pushed too far. She hesitated, then finally slid the ring off her finger and placed it on the table with an exaggerated sigh. "You two are so dramatic," she muttered. I snatched the ring and slipped it back onto my finger, my hands shaking with rage. That was the moment I knew I had to set real boundaries. Because if I didn't, Linda would just keep pushing, keep taking, keep demanding, and I wasn't about to let that happen. Linda's stunt with my ring wasn't just an overstep. It was a declaration that she thought she could take whatever she wanted, no matter how personal, no matter how wrong. That night, after everyone had left, Jake and I sat in silence. The anger in my chest hadn't subsided, and I knew he felt the same. Finally, I spoke. "Jake, this can't keep happening. She stole from me. From us." He nodded, his jaw tight. "I know, and I'm done making excuses for her." That was the moment we decided. Linda needed boundaries. Real, solid, non-negotiable boundaries. The next morning, Jake called his mother. He was firm but calm. He told her that what she did was completely unacceptable, and that if she ever pulled a stunt like that again, she would no longer be welcome in our home. Linda, of course, played the victim. She gasped dramatically, acting as if we were overreacting. "It was just a misunderstanding. I was only admiring it." "Admiring something doesn't mean taking it from someone's home without permission," Jake shot back. Then came the guilt tripping. "So this is how you treat your own mother? After everything I've done for you?" Jake didn't fall for it. "Mom, this isn't about what you've done for me. This is about respect, and right now you're showing neither of us any." For the first time, Linda was speechless. She huffed, muttered something about ungrateful children, and hung up. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But Linda doesn't lose, at least not without a fight. A week later, we received a wedding gift in the mail. No note, no return address, just a small velvet box. Confused, I opened it. Inside was an exact replica of my ring. With a note, "If you're going to be so selfish, at least let me have this one." She had actually gone out and had my ring copied for herself. I was done. So done. I sent her one final message. "Linda, this is beyond inappropriate. You are not entitled to anything of mine. This behavior ends now, or we end contact." Her response? Silence. And honestly, that was the best gift she ever gave me, because from that day forward, Jake and I finally had the peace we deserved. And my ring. It stayed exactly where it belonged, on my finger. And that's the story. What do you think? Was Linda out of line, or do you think she had a right to ask for the ring? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more.